The Last of Us Left Behind was an acclaimed DLC released about a year after the original game launched. The story lets players experience how our second protagonist Ellie gets bitten and how she saves Joel from dying after sustaining an injury at the university. This DLC is placed in between autumn and winter, and the story is essentially split into two timelines, the past and the present. There are some similarities between the two timelines, like the fact that they're both set in an abandoned mall, and both timelines deal with the relationship she has with two people that she cares about the most. The DLC begins with Ellie finding a safe spot for Joel to lie down and rest while she goes and finds first aid, and features classic mechanics of the original game. She does some light puzzle solving and looks around the area for some first aid. This part plays mainly like the original game. The mall is beautiful, covered in snow, and has some of its own lore and collectibles. But the real story of this DLC is what happens in the past. We meet Ellie in a boarding school. She's asleep when a girl comes over and pretends to attack her, like an infected. It's her best friend Rylie. Ellie wakes up in a shock and grabs her knife, points it at Rylie. Rylie, laughing, thinks it's hilarious, while Ellie thinks it's not funny at all. She hasn't seen Rylie in weeks and doesn't know where she disappeared, and then one night she just turns up, so Ellie is obviously stunned. In a bid to get back on Ellie's good side, Rylie promises to show her a secret spot, so they decide to sneak out of the boarding school and run off to another abandoned mall. This one, however, has working electricity, has photo booths, arcade games, and even a merry-go-round. They explore the mall together, and you really see that the relationship is palpable. These people are great friends, and friendship is such a rare thing in a world where everyone is either dead or infected. Relationships like these can't be thrown away, which is why Ellie is so mad that Rylie just left one day. But she realizes Rylie left because of a cause. She feels she has a calling to go join the Fireflies with Marlene. This ends up being the militia group that Joel and Ellie look for the entire main game of The Last of Us. Ellie doesn't want her to go though, and she begs Rylie to stay. Rylie, conflicted, ends up ripping off her Firefly pendant and throwing it on the ground. Ellie, in pure delight, kisses Rylie. This is the first inclination of Ellie's sexuality and is another example of LGBT representation in this franchise. This is why the DLC was critically acclaimed and was praised among the industry. There was no shoehorned characters or plot just done for equality purposes. This was the genuine feeling between two people in that moment. It was done so well and with so much nuance, it was almost expected. But just after their kiss, Rylie's realization she didn't want to leave Ellie. A swarm comes in to attack them and they have to escape. They run for an exit and start climbing some scaffolding, and while Rylie gets to the top, Ellie falls and gets grabbed by an infected. Rylie jumps down to help Ellie, but then she's also attacked. Ellie ends up saving Rylie, and with all the adrenaline, they don't realize that they've actually both been bitten. In a fit of rage, Ellie starts destroying pots around the area and sits down and cries, while Rylie turns to her and says that they have a few options. One is just to end it all, showing off her pistol, and another is just to do it poetically and just let things happen as they should. Ellie agrees, and they both get up and leave. It's sad really to realize that Ellie never turned and had to watch Rylie turn, but we never actually see what happens to Rylie. Does Ellie finish her off, or does she just let Rylie go? I guess the silver lining here is that Ellie didn't die, and she finds out that she is the cure, and this sets the entire motion of the main game forward. That's one reason I really enjoyed this DLC, is because it's actually meaningful and adds to the story. It could have easily been part of the main game. That was only one side of the story. The other side shows Ellie looking for first aid, which she ends up finding, but then she's ambushed by hunters in the abandoned mall. She uses a bow she finds on the floor and sneaks her way around. A new twist Naughty Dog adds to this combat is the fact that infected and human enemies can actually fight each other. So throughout the present day section, Ellie sets up fights between the infected and the human enemies, which they explore further in part 2. Another reason I really like this DLC is because it shows how teenagers would act if they could just be allowed to be teenagers. We as humans, just in a normal world, think it's so funny that they find everything so amazing. Ellie and Rylie taking selfies and on a merry-go-round. Well, this for us is just normal stuff that you could do any weekend, but for them it could be a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So it adds a bit of naivety and innocence to their characters that they quickly lose as they have to grow up fast in the world of The Last of Us, and they have to learn to survive and to fight every day. This duality can be seen when we play the present day section. From the past, when Ellie's riding a merry-go-round with Rylie, and it swaps back over to the present with Ellie killing infected and trying to save Joel. It shows the difference between Ellie then and Ellie now. She doesn't want to see anyone she loves or cares about die anymore. It's really one of her big motivators to give herself up for the cure. That was my short discussion on The Last of Us Left Behind DLC. I want to thank you for listening, and if you want to hear some more, I have several episodes already uploaded on the channel discussing different topics regarding to The Last of Us. Also, please comment your own thoughts down below. I'd like to hear what you thought of this DLC. Anyways, thanks again, and tune in to the next one.